Hey everybody, welcome back. Another Gravity's devlog. Um, just trying to get my thoughts together here. It's Saturday, September 12th. Hey Peter, how you doing? Hey Robert, welcome, welcome. Hmm. Uh, Getting a late start on the day. I've been watching TV all morning. Um, I guess let me start by showing you what I've been up to lately. So this is the new level select for the campaign. And an idea that the Discord had basically was to have some kind of yeah, exactly. It's the sector map. An idea from the Discord was to have some kind of gating between levels, but not every level. And people were confused about getting a grade of an F, but still being able to go forward. And there's still a little bit of confusion around what the purpose of the reactor cores is. This should make it all a lot clearer. I'm not sure I like it, but I mostly like it, so I'm going with it. So the idea is you have four sectors. There's 24 levels currently. There's four sectors, and to progress to the next sector, you have to collect the reactor cores. You can play all the levels in a sector, but to go to the next sector, you have to get all the reactor cores in here. So you can do them. You do them linearly, but then once you've played them all, you can do them in any order, just to get the missing reactor cores that you need, and then you can go to the next one. So here's an example of how it actually looks in game. So in this campaign, I've already completed Sector 1. Sector 2, I've completed 2 of these, and 2 I haven't. So these are unlocked, but they're not complete. These are complete. I can go back and play them again, but I don't need to. And these I can play in any order. So I can go and play 7, I can go and play 10, whatever I feel like. So I need to do some art polish on this, and I need to do some, it's so much work. I need to do some sound effects for this. I need to do some art polish for this. I think the programming for it's mostly done. But let me show you what I've done. So in Godot, to make this easier to work on, first of all, look at the node tree here. Pretty simple. Very straightforward, right? Control for each sector, control for each level. Each of these levels is a scene called a level button, and it knows how to draw itself and, do its select animations and all that stuff. And sorry, I'm just listening to my family in the other room making noise. So to make this easier to develop, because one of the things I wanted was to have kind of this constellation type look. And so I made these all tool scripts so that I can kind of arrange them, and you can see everything reacting. If you take this guy, you can do that, right? So this, allowed me to put these nodes into a sort of a pleasing shape and into a pleasing pattern. Like this sector here, there's 13 here, and then level 14 way over here, then 15, 16, 17, 18. And if you can imagine a line drawn between all these, it kind of looks like, I don't know, maybe a wheelbarrow or scissors or something like that. This one ends up looking like maybe a shirt or a person, with their arm up. You can imagine the person waving, hey. This one is like a kind of the number 3 ends up looking like. and this one ends up looking like kind of a jagged mountain range kind of a thing. Hey, Nikki. So I wanted to be able to do that without having to go back and forth, flipping, running the game, coming back, trying it out, seeing how it looks. So I made this whole thing a tool script so I can just visualize it, how it looks here, very quickly. The other thing I did was I tried to build this UI in a way where I had the sectors kind of delineated from each other, And I thought, I started drawing something like this, or something kind of blobby, like borders of a empire or something like that. But I wasn't happy with any of it, so I just ended up going with a procedural drawing. And this is pretty simple to do. Yeah, I'll show you that in a second. So this whole outline shape, see how it does that? Uses a concept called convex hulls. And the convex hull, if you don't know, is a convex polygon that encloses all of the points, that encloses a set of points. It's like the smallest polygon that encloses all of the points. The smallest convex polygon. So that means none of these corners are concave. And that's how you end up with stuff like you can move this guy, it doesn't change the shape, but now he does, right? So Godot has a neat, it just has some neat stuff to make this easier. If I look in here, each sector knows how to draw itself. This script basically just draws the sector. So what it does is gets all of its children, which are these levels, gets a list of points for those children, and then uses the geometry class to compute the convex hull. There's an algorithm for doing the convex hull if you want to do it. It's not that difficult, actually. The algorithm's pretty simple, but why write it when you don't have to? So Godot has this convex hull algorithm. So I get the hull, and then I just inflate the hull a little bit, and Godot has another handy function here for offsetting a polygon. So this gives me the points of the hull, and then this lets me inflate, grow or shrink the hull by a certain number of pixels. And it even lets me do things like changing the how the different line segments are joined, whether it's a flat or a pointy or a rounded off joint. So once I have those points, then I just draw them. So I fill in, first of all, the background color, and then I draw an outline, and then I draw a thicker outline a little bit further out. So I inflate it again and draw another thicker outline. And then draw lines connecting all of the levels that have been unlocked. And that's what this code is. This code tells me which levels have been unlocked so I can draw the points between them. And then, so if you look at the actual game, let me bring that up again. You see I've got the area, I've got this thin outline here, I've got this thicker outline here, and then I've got the lines between the unlocked levels. So 1, 2, 3, 4 draws per sector, and it does that once. It just does it in one frame. It just draws it once, because here in the game it doesn't change, right? Except for the next time you come back to this screen. In the tool script, in the editor, it updates in almost real time. I mean, it looks pretty close to real time. It's actually, I think, doing it like once every 1/10 of a second. That's what this is. If this just tells the game, well, this tells the game, this is a tool script, which means run this script in the editor. It'll run it in the game, but also run it in the editor. And then the process function, which runs every frame, says if I'm running in the editor, then every 6th frame, redo the drawing. So it's not doing it every frame, but every 6th frame, just redo the drawing. Hey, Eric. Oh, I like the sound of that. The master of Godot-based game juice. I should put that on a t-shirt. Anyway, so that's how you end up with these kind of procedural, which I think they're kind of cool looking. I don't know, you guys be the judge, but I like the way they look. And I didn't have to draw it myself. Thanks for the follow, buddy. So I think last week I talked about putting the lieutenant here and having her say something like, you need to collect more reactor cores. But what I think I'm going to do instead is put a little like reactor core icon right here, and then put a counter, right? You have 2 of 6 or something like that, so that you know. And then there's a reminder down here. If you're on a sector that is not complete, you get this reminder next to all the stats. So that leaves this space kind of blank. And what I was thinking of doing was doing another procedural drawing thing where I try to create some sort of representation, a visual representation of the level. And I don't think it needs to be, I don't want it to be, I mean, one simple thing would be to actually load the level, take a screenshot of it, shrink it down, put it in here. Maybe I would do that. I don't know. I'll need to try it and see. But I'm also thinking maybe it would be something more abstract. So I'm thinking like sometimes you'd click a level and you'd see like 3 or 4 different, I don't know, maybe an asteroid field, and that would give you a kind of flavor for where you are. Or maybe it would show a planet that's being destroyed, or some kind of moon where with a big chunk taken out of it. A lot of different things you can put in here for atmosphere, you know? Yeah, like a planet spinning, some kind of holographic display of something, right? So I'm going back and forth between doing something that's more of a literal representation of the level, or something that's more abstract that just kind of gives you kind of a feeling for it. And I think I'm leaning towards the feeling part right now. But we'll see. Either way, I think it's going to be fairly difficult to pull off. So I'm not sure. I'd rather work on something easier right now. And then I need to add a bunch of sounds. I would like to have a sound for when you select each one. I would like to have a sound, when you're moving the mouse over them. And I need to redo the buttons themselves. I don't like these buttons. They're very basic. Like the colors are fine, right? Locked, fine. Unlocked, incomplete, fine, right? Green, complete, makes sense to me. They just need something more. I think, especially these ones that are trying to attract your attention by pulsing. I don't know. It hasn't hit me yet. I'm sort of waiting for inspiration. I'll probably do some exploratory drawing later, but I don't want to do that on stream because it's just boring to watch. It's just drawing some stuff and then erasing it, and drawing some stuff and erasing it for hours. But we'll see. I'll do something. Hey, Fox. Hey. Hi, Eva. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. So that was a big thing. To do this, I needed to refactor a bunch of stuff. I needed to make a bunch of new functions in my level class, One problem I came across that was kind of interesting programming wise was, all my level data is basically config files. Let me show you one. Let me show you a level. So here's an example level. This one's a pretty small level, but it's 50 lines, right, of text. This all has to get parsed out. There's a config file class in Godot that handles, manages reading and writing these, so it's pretty simple to do. But some of the bigger levels can be, thousands of lines. Let me get a big one. Let's look at this guy. Let's look at this guy, 94K. 2,000 lines, right? 1,800 lines. So every time you came to the screen, it loads a lot of this data. And not just once, sometimes it would load it and then there would be another function that would load it again to see, what's in it. And another function would load it again to see, is it this or that, whatever. There's lots of different checks, right? And so what I was finding was that coming to this level chooser screen was taking about 3 seconds for all that data to load over and over and over again. So I added a caching, in-memory cache, which is very, very, very basic, but it gets the job done. So the first thing I did was I ran the profiler on this stuff. And if you've never used the profiler, you definitely should learn it because it does come in handy. What you can do is you go into the debugger tab, profiler, you can start it, and then you can run your scene, and then you can stop your scene. Go back to the profiler again, stop, and then go back to frame 0 because everything in this scene that was causing the delay I know was happening in frame 0, and you can see there's a big spike here at the beginning, right? And then you can see all the methods that it's calling. So it's calling get sectors. It calls it 27 times. It calls get level 459 times. Gets level stats 700 times, right? And this is after the caching. So before the caching was applied, it was calling this 700 times, and it was taking something like 3,000 milliseconds, right? Which is 3 seconds. And now it calls it 700 times in 8 milliseconds. It calls this in 52 times in 27 milliseconds, calls this 459 times in 84 milliseconds. There's probably some refactoring I could do to make it call these things less. But as a first pass, what I did was I just added some caching. And so the caching works like this, pretty simple. I just load the data in memory. I create these dictionaries. I have a level data cache, stats cache, and a sector cache. And I have a little method here to reset the caches, just clears them. These are just maps or dictionaries or hashes, whatever language you're coming from. Every language has a different way of calling it. But it's a key value store, basically. So these are empty. This resets them and makes them empty again. And then when you do, so I have this level data cache, right? So if I do something like get level, the first thing it does is it checks the cache. And if the level data is already in the cache, it just returns it. So it never has to load the config file and parse any of the data. It just skips it. It's already in memory. It just returns it. If it does need to load it, if it's not already in memory, then it loads it, does everything it normally would, and then it puts it in the cache and then returns it. So the second time you call this, it gets the in-memory version. The first time you call it, it puts it in memory. The second time, third time, fourth time you call it, it gets the memory version. And I did that with the level data and the sector data and the stats data, because those were the ones based on the profiler that were being called the most and were taking up the most time. So get level, get stats, and get sectors. These are the ones that were causing the delay in the in the scene loading. So the tricky thing then is, of course, once it's in memory, if it changes, you need to know that it changed and you need to reload it into the cache again, right? So even introducing a simple cache introduces that problem where you need to update the cached data every once in a while. And I do that here, I think. Maybe I don't do it here. Somewhere in here, it says reset the cache. I also do it on the game over screen. So on the game over screen, it does it because when you're game over, it's updating stats, it's updating which levels were complete, it's updating which sectors are unlocked. So I reset all the caches when the game is over and you get that game over screen. I also reset the caches when you save stats. It just overwrites any in-memory cache existing for that level with the new stats. So anytime you save stats, the stats in the cache get updated. And so far it's working good. Like I said, it's gone. I've gone from 3,000 milliseconds down to 100, maybe 200 milliseconds to load the screen. Anyway, the delay now is virtually non-existent. You don't even notice it. If I go back here and then go start again, see, by the time the animation is done playing, it's already loaded. So from the user experience perspective, there's no delay at all, which was a big improvement over the uncached version. So that was fun. That actually was kind of fun programming. Oh, thanks. I mean, the code it's not super clean. And I don't put, I don't know, maybe I do put a lot of comments, but I tend to put comments that explain what the thing is doing. Like, for example, this one, right? Get level. I should probably rename this. And the only reason I have a comment here is to remind me what this function actually does. Get level is kind of ambiguous. But then I also do things like, I'll put longer comments here just to explain what's going on for future me so that future John doesn't get mad at current John for writing stuff that I don't know how to use. So that's campaign and level select. Like I said, I need to add some UI here. Art polish, some kind of procedural level art. And then I need to build a screen for user campaigns, which are, user designed levels. And I'm thinking for that, it's going to be a different UI with a list of user campaigns on the left. And once you select one, then it'll be a list of levels next to that. And then I'll probably still retain the, holographic preview and the stats, and the, selecting a level will launch it, and that'll be the same. But I don't think I can come up with a good way of procedurally, maybe I could, but I don't think I want to right now because it would be a lot of work. Would be to kind of emulate this, procedurally could be done, but I don't think I want to deal with it. I just want to have a list of campaigns here, the list of each level in the campaign, and then the stats and these two panels here next to it. That'll be for the user campaigns, but I haven't started that one yet. Yeah. So good progress on that. I also fixed a bug here that Peter found. Thanks, Peter. If you had a dialogue node that wasn't connected, the game would crash. And that's because the code that loads and parses this data just assumed it was connected. And it would try to do some code based on those connections. And if the connections weren't there, it would fail because something would be null and it would crash. So I just put in some checks, like if you can't find the first node because it's not connected, then just almost don't do anything. What it actually does is it shows a little warning in the editor itself. So if you go in here and you say dialog node and edit, right, and add, and it's not connected, save it, it just tells you error, right? And if you try to edit it, and I have some dialogue here and I'm typing it, it doesn't appear as a valid preview because it's not connected yet. Now it does. So just little things like that, right? That was an interesting bug to fix. Pretty simple. Like, who would not connect their dialogue nodes? Some people would. This is why it's important to have other people playtest your game besides yourself, because they're going to do stuff that you wouldn't do. This one was an interesting bug too. It wasn't a bug per se, but like, I usually play this game with the gamepad. And on the gamepad, you shoot with the triggers and you activate the dialogue with A. It's two different controls. But if you're using mouse and keyboard, you could shoot with the left mouse button, and you could also skip dialogue with the left mouse button, and people were skipping it accidentally. So what I did was I changed the controls so that the dialogue skipping was a dedicated control, whether you're using keyboard or whether you're using gamepad. It's the X button. And to make things simpler for me, I made it X on the keyboard and X on the gamepad, so it doesn't matter. I can do one UI for it and just show X. That's one thing I need to do still. You can't skip it anymore accidentally. You have to be intentional about it. And but to do that, I was already using X for some functions, so I had to move some things around, and I had to change my how to play graphic, but not too bad. Pretty straightforward. I'm not sure what I want to work on today. I was thinking maybe this. This is a thing where, like right now, when you're looking at the game, for example, you see a back button, right? But if you're playing with the gamepad, you would push B. There's no reason for you to go up here to the back button and highlight it and click it. You can just push the B button. And I would almost like to be able to say, you know, if you're using the gamepad, this button would change to B back. But then if you touch the mouse again, it would change back to this back button. There's a great game that does this. They do this really well, I think. But I don't want to take it this far. If you guys haven't played this game, by the way, it's super fun. So this is the mouse interface, okay? And all I'm going to do right now is just touch the gamepad. And as soon as I touch it, you'll see the whole interface change. See that? So they went above and beyond, right? Where they actually even created different views depending on what control you're using. And as soon as I touch the mouse again, I'm going to click. It switches back to the mouse interface. Got the big buttons, right? See, watch down here where it says randomize and change time traveler. When I touch the gamepad, see that? The mouse pointer disappears. I like that a lot. And I've got code in the game to detect the controller already. If I look at my game singleton, this game singleton is loaded whenever the game is running. In here, I have an input detector. This just catches all input events that happen. And it says if there was a mouse movement or a keyboard press, then you're not using the gamepad. But if there's a joypad button or a joypad motion detected, then you are using the gamepad. So this global variable will always have the state of whether you're using the gamepad or not. Oh, and it prints it out. If I'm in the editor, it'll actually print it out. Right, so you can see here. I'm going to take out that print because I don't need it. I know this works. So at any time, in any button, I can just say, is it gamepad or is it mouse and keyboard? And change the UI a little bit. But I think as a first pass, what I want to do is just put a B button like right next to this. Let's just try that real quick and see how it looks. So an A button should be a circle, right? And it should have the letter A in it. Too small. Right, something like that. And I have a common GUI. Oh, these were old buttons. I was using these for a while, but I stopped using them. And I think they're too big anyway. I'm just going to overwrite this one. Oh, but I wanted a B button. Well, let's just save this one. And then we'll do another one. And this one will be a B button. Let's make it red. Because everybody knows B buttons are red. Button B. So next to this back button, in fact, I'll put it inside this back button. I'll just put this right there. By putting it inside or as a child at the back button, when I move them, they'll move together. I don't know. That seems pretty clear. B to go back. And when you select the level, I want this to be A or B over here as well. Let's see. So let me bring up my launcher. Right. So I want an A right there. And a B right there. Let's do that. Now let's do this. Let's make sure they're lined up. Where's my pixel snap? Do that. Do that. Let's do that. So now you've got back or B, go or A, cancel or B, right? I don't know. Having both both UIs visible at the same time. So I'm using the gamepad right now, and you can actually move back and forth and hit A on the cancel button if you wanted to. Oh, this is why it's hard. Because yes, I can push B to cancel. I can push A to go. Unless I'm on the cancel button, and then pushing A will cancel, and B will cancel. And if on the A button, A will go and B will cancel, which is, I don't know, is that confusing? I guess it could be confusing. It would almost be better. I mean, arguably it would be better to not have these buttons at all and not be able to let you move your focus between them. And but maybe a screen like this doesn't even need the A and B, because I don't know, B is kind of implied to go back. Here it doesn't make any difference. Like here, it's difficult to get up to the A or to the back button using the gamepad, for one. But then once you're here, you can press A or B, so B works and does the expected thing. So that's fine. Here is where it's a little wonky, perhaps, because you can push A to cancel. Let's do it the other way real quick. So let's create this just for fun. Oh, I don't know. Are both buttons red on yours? On mine, let's look at mine. My A is green and my B is red and my X is blue and my Y is yellow. Maybe there's different controllers that are different colors. And don't even get me started on PlayStation controllers, right? I should also detect whether it's a PS4 controller or something and do the box, square, circle thing. We'll see how crazy this gets. But let's just try it. So what I can do is I can create a node, control, and then I'll add a button inside on my sound buttons, and I'll call this back. Oh, let's change the control to use my theme. Common GUI theme. Okay, so there's my back button, and we'll call this button. And I'll do another one like this. I'll call this one gamepad. Let's do this. Let's call this mouse, call this gamepad. This will be easier for me to understand later, because I'll need to hide the mouse controls or I'll need to hide the gamepad controls depending on what you're doing. So by calling it mouse and gamepad, it'll just keep it straighter in my mind. And then the gamepad control will have inside of it a label, and the label will say back. And I want to put that control at the same exact position, or close to the same exact position. I want it to take up the same amount of space. And it's also going to have this B. right? Label's going to go right there. So you'll either be looking at that or you'll be looking at that. And they're both exactly the same size. Yeah, they're both exactly the same size. All right, so here, let me call this a back button node. And then I'm going to save it here under my GUI controls, back button, scene. And to make this easier for other components in the game to use this, I'm going to add a script here. And then I need to connect this node's pressed to the control above it. And then this control needs to also admit a pressed. Like that. So my back button has a pressed. So to an outside observer, it looks like a button. And then inside here, I need to do a, just keep track of input events. And whenever an input event happens, I'll check if game dot using gamepad. Then I want to hide the mouse controls and show the gamepad controls. Otherwise, we'll do the opposite. This will be show. And this will be see if that works. Mouse, gamepad, mouse, gamepad. It's doing some weird moving. It's doing that because this sound button that I'm using is a weird kind of a button. I'm going to change that back to just a regular button. Did it change? Did not. It's weird. It's fine. Let me just delete it. Make it again. Button. Make sure I give it the same name so the script still works. Connect pressed. So that still works. Give it a label. Right. Okay, looking good. Let's try that again. So mouse, gamepad, mouse, gamepad, mouse, gamepad, mouse, gamepad, mouse, gamepad. Yeah, and then in here I want to say if input is action just pressed, I think it's UI cancel. So that'll handle pressing B or escape. This handles the mouse click on the actual button. This handles changing the UI, what's visible depending on the mode, the controller mode. And now I can just take that and put it here. I can delete. Yeah, we'll just make sure we call it button back. So I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to add in my back button there. And we'll call it button back so that all my code still works the way it was working before. And connect that, right? It connects right back to the signal it was, the method it was already connected to. And I can move it right there. Oh, it's got a weird size. Here we go. And we'll just put it right there. All right, let's try it. Mouse, gamepad, B, start. When it's first instanced, it needs to check that value as well. So, in my back button, I want to turn this into a method. Let's say show UI. Put that there. And we'll say show UI. Oh, you know what? We'll call it update UI. Call that update UI. And we'll call it again right here, update UI. So when this node is instanced, it's going to update the UI, show the correct thing. Whenever there's an input event, it's going to update the UI again to show the correct thing. This takes care of the back button or the B button being pressed. This takes care of the actual button being clicked on with the mouse. Should be good to go. Right, so I'm using the keyboard, using the mouse, using the gamepad. I like that better. Hey, Andrew. Okay. So then, if I do like that better, then what I can do is just copy this whole scene. You know what I should do? I should add a export here. Text equals back, right? And then update UI should say mouse.text equals text and label.text equals text. So now it's a back button, but I can change the label, and I can change the label from the inspector right here. And if I go to the, let's go to the launcher. So my launcher, I have a cancel button, right? Let's delete these. So I'm going to replace this cancel button with a back button. And I'm going to change the back button's text to say cancel. It didn't update right away because this is not a tool script. Yeah, let's make it a tool script. Why not? So I've got my back button, and I can put that right there. Let's see how it looks. All right. Using the mouse or using the gamepad. Mouse, gamepad, mouse, gamepad, mouse, gamepad. Yep, I like that. So then I think, want to duplicate this whole thing because I want to make a continue button as well. So let's duplicate this scene. How do I do that? How do I do that? Let's do that. Continue button. And this will be let's just change the name of it. And I need to change its script. Let's just save the script as continue button. And this will end up being A. This will be continue. This will be continue. And the default here will be continue. And here I want to change this to be UI accept. Yep. And then here, let's add a continue button. Still not updating. Did I? Oh, lordy. I think I modified the wrong one. Yeah, I did. That should be back. cancel. This should be continue. Accept. And this should be go. Still not updating. There must be another something to get that to update in real time. So gamepad, select, ooh, almost, back, almost, messed something up. Oh, I did leave the old one under. Yep. Let's call that button launch. Let's delete that one. Call this one button launch. Connect that signal back again. This one should be button cancel. Connect that signal back again. All right. Always more difficult than I want it to be. Why is that not even appearing? right? I don't like the way these sizes are working. Hey, Game Dev Unknown. I don't know what's going on here. There's a couple of things I don't like about this. This is why I wanted to do the simpler method of just putting the buttons next to these things, because I knew this would happen. I kind of like the way this works, right? So my back button up here, right? Changes to gamepad controls or mouse controls, depending on which ones you're using. I like that. But what I don't like is that when I'm working on the actual game in here, if I change the text of this thing to something else, it doesn't update until I go away and come back. And then when I do go away and come back, the control itself isn't changing its size based on what's inside of it, which is a bummer. There's some shenanigans going on here, and I would need to put some code in here to deal with that. Something to resize this control based on its contents, and something to update itself when the value of this changes. Oh, I guess I could take care of that one right here. That. And then do a set text value. Text equals value. And then update UI. Okay, that should do it. So now if I go in here, oh, was that the continue button I changed? Yeah, that was the continue button I changed. Where's my back button? Let's do the same thing in the back button. Right? Okay, so that's one problem solved. The other issue is that this container isn't changing its size based on the contents, and I think that might be, I might be able to change that just by changing its type. Maybe to that. And now if this changes, oh, look at that. It did. So let's go to back button. Change that to a center container as well. And then go back here. The heck did my UI go? Invalid set index text. Oh. Can't find mouse. Oh, because, okay, so what's happening here? See, God, what a rabbit hole this is. So what's happening here is that this is getting set, and then this is trying to update the values, but I'm not in the tree yet. This isn't in. This isn't inside the node tree yet. It hasn't been set up yet. So it can't do it yet. And similarly with the back button. Writing UIs is hard, man. I don't like it. And gamepad. Okay. I mean, it's working. It's kind of got some weird alignment issues now, but it's doing something. Why am I getting those weird alignment issues? I guess this should be a center container as well. No, maybe it should be a HBox container. No. Well, maybe. Let's say HBox container. Let's change this to icon, and we'll change the type to texture rect, another type of control, and we'll put it first. Right, everything will resize automatically based on what it is now. So let's change this to HBox and this to texture rect, and change its name to icon just for my sanity. All right. Pop, 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 pop. Back, start, gamepad, da 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 da, mouse. All right. Now we're getting this weird error, which I'm not sure what it is. Let me look at my diffs here. Bunch of noise. Bunch of noise, noise, noise. All right, it's not there. Noise, 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 noise. It's not it either. No. Something in continue button at line 26, emit signal pressed, and then here, catching that. What's the value of level? Let's suppress these warnings real quick. just make this error happen again. And I'll try to put on my thinking cap. Okay. Level is null. In the launcher, level is null. I should be calling set level. All right, so the level button emits a signal pressed, passes the level. Stop it right there, see what it's actually doing. Right, I've selected this level, select. Oh, it went right into button launch. My signals are overlapping. I think I need to have, so what's happening is that this guy in the launcher, it's actually on, it's in the scene, but it's hidden. But that doesn't mean it's not working. It's still doing its thing. And one of the things it's doing is it has these continue buttons, and the continue button is checking input. And if there's an input, then it's going to do this, which tells the launcher to go. But really, the input should have been just showing the launcher, not this part yet, because it's hidden. So I think I might want to move, well, I think what I want to do is say if not visible, return. Let's see if that does the trick. I'm not sure that's the best solution, but let's see if that fixes the problem. No. If not parent, I don't like that either. This is turning into gross spaghetti. Yeah, now it's working. Maybe a better way to do this, because I'm just overlaying this on the other UI. I do like the way that looks. But maybe what I should do is have launcher actually load . Launcher should maybe be its own scene. I'm having a problem where in Godot I'm having these overlapping UIs, and I have two UIs in one scene, and I'll hide one and show the other one. But the one underneath, even though it's hidden, it's still active. And you're seeing that here, right? I'll hit back. And it's all this stuff, these arrows and things. It's still active, even though this appears on top of it. And the simple way to get rid of that would be to not overlap them like that, but rather just switch scenes entirely. And the thing you'd lose there is if I selected this scene and then I go to a new scene here and then go back, it'll have this one selected and not this one. You know, folks, it's lunchtime. I'm gonna go get lunch. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I'm a little frustrated right now. But once again, it's a problem of my own design. Future me hates me, and that's a common recurring theme with my coding. I'm gonna bang my head against the wall against this problem for a couple more hours later, and then just show you guys the results of how I fixed it. I'll probably stream again Monday, and hopefully by then I'll have a good solution for you. So I'm gonna call it right now. I'm gonna go eat some hot dogs. You guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you again soon.